preparing. And I think it says it starts sooner than it shows me. So this part may be on YouTube also, but I'm not too worried about that.
The little message says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought.
That's what it says.
It does that. Let me type a little message. So this is live right now, and I'll begin talking in a little bit. Okay. Welcome everybody to our third stop on Nervous Ghosts Press, far, far away, but closer than ever, virtual tour summer 2020. Today, we have made our way to Long Beach, California, and into Gatsby Books. Gatsby Books is the literature heart of Long Beach. Be sure to support them at www.gatsbybooks.com. Unfortunately, the owner cannot be here with us today, so we wish them our warm wishes, our warmest of wishes, our goodest of vibes, and our most positive of everything else. And they are open, so check their website for their hours. There's an option where you can book a personal shopping experience where it's only you and the entire bookstore.
Wow.
I think that is amazing. Remember to stay connected with us at Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, on our website, everywhere else. The information is on the screen now. My email address, if you ever have questions or comments, ghosts@nervousghostpress.com. And one final screen before I continue is this cool poster that I keep forgetting to share. Because as we move forward with all of these events, as we continue to bring the community together and have all of our events and shows and everything else, we're reminded that together we can be successful, we can be love, we can be strength, we can be courage, and we can be passion. And so I'd like to just say a few words before I hand it over to Michael, who we're very happy is here today. Glad to have him back. Nervous Ghost Press is committed, as always, to our community of writers, of readers, of artists, musicians, singers, dancers, everybody else. We are impassioned by our passion. We are driven with the sense of earnestness to write, to read, to perform, to think about and to write about the hard things, the tough things, the nightmares and the monsters and the demons, and what scares us and what doesn't scare us, what excites us, what makes us happy and what makes us sad. On YouTube and Twitter at Nervous Ghosts and YouTube at Nervous Ghosts Live, submit your comments. I have a question for all of you. How do you feel about these? Are there things that you enjoy? What can we do to make them better? We're learning and we're happy and we're having fun. And so share your thoughts, and I'd be glad to see how these are going, what we can do to make them better, change a hair. Maybe I can spike up my hair one day. Who knows? If you'd like to learn more about us, there is still the interview with Michael and I on Chill at Will podcast, available on Apple Podcasts and also Ask Alexa. Today's hashtag is Nervous Ghost July 14. Nervous Ghost July 14. We have a great set of readers today. Great work. Very excited. And with this, I'd like to hand it over to Michael to say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back. My name is Michael Mickelson. I am the managing editor at Nervous Ghost Press. I was contacted by Matt to join his team and when he wanted to start this with Chad, who can't be here tonight. And all three of us met each other at Mills. We went through an MFA program. He was in poetry. I think Chad and I were in prose. And it was a great experience. It was a 2-year program in Oakland, California. One of the best educational experiences I've had in my life. I definitely recommend that campus to anybody. And if you're thinking about an MFA program, if you're watching right now and you're thinking about taking that next step, whether it's secondary education or graduate education, I definitely recommend that. A little bit about me, aside from the press, is I am an avid baseball fan, I am a writer, and I have a rabbit. named Butter. Not many people know that, but she is a fine rabbit, and I'm currently drinking Bundaberg Guava. So excuse me if you see me taking sips now and then. But we have a great show for you. That's what I want. The last show I wasn't able to attend, but that's what I want it to be, is to be not just like a live stream, but more of like a show. And I think Matthew has done a great job of curating that. So thank you for all being here. Thank you for streaming, the contributors, everybody who's speaking tonight. And my mom, I believe she's watching. So hi, Mom. Okay, so Sean, the owner, isn't able to be here, but definitely visit GatsbyBooks.com. We did a post recently on our Instagram page, and it's his front window, and he's now open for business during everything. That might change soon with new California orders coming in for COVID, but he's open. You can definitely shop online. Visit him at GatsbyBooks.com and give him the business. All right, so our first speaker of the evening. First speaker is Stuart. Stuart LeSean has work published in numerous literary magazines, including Measure, Kenyon Review, Phoebe, and Your Impossible Voice. His book of poems, Body Tapestries, Dream Horse Press, was a winner of the Orphic Prize. Stuart, good evening.
Good evening, Michael. Good evening, Matthew. Thank you very much for putting this all together. You have great, generous hearts and spirits. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Gatsby Books too. And hello, everybody. I have the honor of having the shortest poem in the book. It's it's kind of lineated funkily, but it's a very short, one sentence long poem, ripped from the headlines, and I wrote it a few years ago, kind of in the heart of the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Just reading, I'll read another poem too. That's ripped from the headlines. After he'd finished, I felt smaller than a bruise. 9 words. This next poem's longer. It's called Staying In, a novel coronavirus in verse, kind of a play on the novel coronavirus name. Has an epigraph. I don't know, for years around Columbus where I lived, there was this short, an NPR, on our NPR station, there was a short little show about astronomy called Black and Bird. They were the names of the people who did it. And so this epigraph is from Deborah Bird, one of the hosts of that show. Dr. Eisenberg added that there's no biggest infinity. You can always have infinities that grow bigger and bigger. And infinity kind of threads is a thread that weaves its way in and out of this piece. Staying in, a novel coronavirus in verse. Prologue. We were each of us locked down, staying deep down in our staying in. And as we stayed in more and more, casting our wards, what spells we had to stave off this thing, we couldn't help but go further and further inward still, in upon in, until we arrived here at the beginning. Chapter 1. March, early lockdown days as we took our tentative first steps to buy food out into the early morning, its infinitesimal presence feathering against our faces. We wondered if there was ever an afterwards again. Will we even remember how it felt before? Like brushing up against a wound, you said. Its big heart, its warm glow of infinite inward diminishment. Chapter 2. April. We stood in suburbs of sunsets, our neighborhoods of infinitesimal apartments, each of us on our own patch of porch, patio, windowsill, fire escape, sidewalk, street, cheering on our healthcare heroes as they changed shifts. Our heroes for facing the virus surely, but also for facing with not enough PPEs, ventilators, masks, swabs, ICU space, so much not enough, even refrigerated trucks for our accumulating bodies, so much of not enough, But in this moment, our starry bodies glowed as we clapped, watching our heroes waving back, smiling wanly, or merely looking down, exhausted, as the blood of evening seeped from the horizon, dripping down along the curbsides of our hours as the fading light descended finally after all. Chapter 3, May. A second wave, pundits wondered, or a continuation of the first. MSNBC showed graphs, stately spikes of cases, state by state, day by day, as if an answer crying out to our apprehensions, our fears. We heard them, the first cicadas, our own brood of 17-year locusts, you said, with their ratcheted, longing songs of uncoroned death, with their luminous orange-veined cages of wings littering our sidewalks, our lawns, leaving their gutted streaks across our windshields when we drove. All this daily dying, all this opening up, leaving us in the end with their silence stretching out an infinity of stilled tomorrows greater than our yesterdays or the days before that. Chapter 4, early June, lockdowns eased, guards came down, gloves and masks came off. One by one, we heard COVID's laughter. It splattered among us, its droplets spread unmeasured, its taunts contemptuous, its infinite seeds of virus spading over, hissing. Dear citizens, dear citizens, my knee is on your neck. Tell me again you cannot breathe. Whimper, call out to your mothers. Let him march through the streets of your minds, shouting, no lives matter, none compared to me. Stupid prick. Of course you know this. Your leaden leader lies before me as impotent as a headless Confederate statue. Of course you know this. None of his bullying, his lies, his ignorant bluster, his insults can stop me, nor can his policy to deny, distract, vilify, to announce me vanquished and move on. No, I'm staying right here. I'm not going anywhere. The garbled skeletons of your mortal days are crumbling. But sure, why not? Unmask, open up, let me in. Tell me again, say it. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. Epilogue. Afterwards, as we lay quietly in the dark, looking through the window past the shades undulating on the soft folds of air, and the infinities of our hands touching, our holding on to each other and all that we had left behind, we saw that the infinities beyond were hungering for them too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing your writing, Stuart. It was our first show. I posed the question about writing and what that meant, like what it felt like to write during a time of crisis, during a time of COVID and protest and pandemic. And you know, your writing is so relevant, and I think we as writers and artists, we've been given this opportunity kind of to reflect, and even if it's writing that we don't share publicly or have published, this is a time to reflect as writers and as human beings. What do we do in this time of crisis? Does our writing still matter? Do we empower ourselves and other people who can't speak up for themselves through our writing? And I think you answered that. So thank you. Just want to remind everybody, you can purchase our beautiful magazine, Writing for Life, through our website, which is www.nervousghostpress.com. And we have an order tab, so go ahead and click on that if you haven't done so already. We still have copies available, and you should be seeing them on bookstores, your local bookstores, on some of their shelves recently, or pretty soon. I'm in Portland, and I've been in contact with a few book owners, so hopefully you'll see that soon. And visit our Instagram page, which is Nervous Ghost Press. That is our most visible social media page. You can click on the link to our YouTube website, and we have a link to our website as well. Moving on to Amanda. Amanda Kors is the youngest of three and an aunt and a witch. Her work witnesses previous versions of herself that are silenced by others, covering topics such as mental illness, disability, and queerness with raw intimacy. Her poems have appeared in Night Music Journal and De Anza's College's Red Wheelbarrow. And you can follow her at ADCourse05. Amanda.
All right, so I'll read 3 poems for you all today. The first one is Time Capsule, which is available in Writing for Life. Time Capsule. It is in the deer's eyes. It is in the thoughts that pass by with their lights on high beam. It is with me locked in the bathroom, escaping mild conflicts and disagreements. It is in the classroom pointing out failures. It is in the bedroom picking inadequacies and putting them to trial without a lawyer. It is in the kitchen trying to decide if it should eat, and if it does, what, and if it does, will it keep it down, and if it does, will it feel regret, and if it does, then what? It is in the tub, scrubbing pink, trying to get clean at last. It is not in the past. It is the reason I fear my womb. It is the reason I pick my zits so deep I have a dent in my nose. It is in the backyard getting drunk or high. It doesn't care or matter because the end result is always the same. It is in the one too many trazodone pills I took last night that gave me knocked out nightmare future seeings I couldn't stop. It is in dehydrated, unbrushed coffee breath. It is in the half-chewed essays I submit. It is in hypomanic fits, masturbating through 6 orgasms, crying out for imaginary lovers, swiftly followed by the crushing remembrance of my 23-year-old virginity. It is dryly wondering how many recycled pill bottles I have contributed in the past 5 years of this. It is warning my roommates I'm bad again because I don't want them to be afraid of me. It is not having a plan for after graduation because I didn't think I'd make it this far. It's a miracle people tell me I'm high functioning. This one is called Mad Pride. Hand-fed daily bitter ritual. Swallow the reminder that you're sick. Maybe if you do this enough times, they'll untie your hands, free your razor-prone fingers. Now you bleed on the page and it's art and it's beautiful and it's inspirational, but they don't like the words etched in your skin. It's jagged and puffy and looks too much like it still hurts years after the wound was crafted. They jack up your prescription, shove pills in your mouth, cover your face, make you gag them down. They tell you you can refuse, but you know if you do, 5150 becomes 5250, becomes 5350, becomes abandoned, becomes arrested, becomes years of your life wasted because you just wouldn't get it together. And if you just recite enough inspirational quotes, just color enough mandalas, you'll be stable. But we know better, don't we? We cackle till we cry when the tower comes crashing, colliding with familial bystanders who leave because a bit of dust got in their eye and they just couldn't take the tears and hysterics. We remove them from the foundation as we rebuild, cleansing toxins from the potions we're brewing. Perfecting chaos and making it art is the maddest thing we do, and God, we are mad. In the final poem, from Psych Ward Walls. Each time I was let out of the hospital was like sucking on a lemon head. At first, it was zesty and fresh, a Technicolor spring morning. But after so many days of citrus and sunlight, my mouth and eyes would get sore. Bumps formed in my mouth, got in the way of my teeth. My mother didn't know I was bleeding because I swallowed all the blood, became bloated with it until I roll over wrong in the night and burst. My mother's eyes looked into me, paper cuts beneath my nails, reminding me that this cycle is very expensive. My father stops visiting after the third or fourth hospitalization because the hospital depresses him. I stay up late because one of the patients is screaming at the nurse for touching her, and another patient is pregnant, therefore off her meds, and therefore seeing the demon hallucinations that will never leave even after she leaves, because the threat of seeing scary shit in her brain will never fully pass. I look at the few flickering stars through a window I can't open and know we are all wondering the same thing. How much longer before I can go out? For more poetry, follow my YouTube channel, Amanda Course.
Thank you very much, Amanda. I think raw intimacy is the perfect description for your writing. Your poetry is very raw, it is ferocious, it is fearless, it is everything that Writing for Life embodies. I just want to, I'm going to give it to Matthew in a second, but I want to say your writing and everybody's writing here is what we're looking for, and that's why we selected you. That's why you're published in our book. And for those who are watching, we, on our website, in our About section, we describe ourselves as sponsoring writing that is fearless and that is emotional, and that's why we write. We are writing for our life, we are writing for survival, we are writing as therapy. So thank you, everybody. Matthew, you have something to say?
Yeah, of course. And exactly that sense of fearlessness and that sense of urgency that we all feel, regardless of what art, what genre we devote our lives to, is exactly what inspired this project. And it's exactly what inspired our press. And for Chad, Michael, and I to come together, that was the main motivator, was to bring all of us together, regardless of where we're from and where we're going. And that's something I'll always advocate for. It's something I truly believe in. And it's something that I hope will never change. Maybe in 30 years, I'll look back at this and think it's foolish, but as of right now, that's where I am. That's where I'm staying. I want to share a little bit about spontaneity and how it relates to art and how it relates to myself. And when I read and when I see everybody speak and when I see them share their words and their emotions and their fears and their lives and their trauma and everything else, it sparks something in me. It sparks me to want to write more and to write again and to continue. And it reminds me of why we fight. And it reminds me that all of our pain and everything is worth it. And it may only be worth it in a moment, but that moment makes everything sound perfect. It makes everything better. And then I'll wake up and we could be angry again. But now I'm going to read these words and I'm going to be reminded that, hey, we're together, and that togetherness will always push us forward. And, speaking of being pushed forward, July 26th will be our international event. And I'll share more information about that later. You could always, find hope. You could always find love. You can find community at www.nervousghostpress.com. You can contact us if you have questions, if you would like to be a guest speaker. We have a great guest speaker today. I'm calling you out. And if you would like to be one, let us know. And we're super excited. And so to continue, Michael.
Thank you, Matt. You are the best MC of all MCs. It is you who put this whole thing together, and we owe it to you. All right, so we have our guest speaker today. She is Melissa Burkai. She's an avid swimmer and storyteller who enjoys classical music and 90s pop. I'm right there with you. And this is going to be her second live performance. So everybody give it away for Melissa.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay, so this won't be too long, but here I go. Open water marathon swimming has never been a mainstream sport that has been given much attention. There is not much money involved in it either, as few athletes are able to receive sponsorships or go pro. Most of the time, Marathon swimmers are responsible for funding their own events. They do not receive much of the glory other athletes do, let alone any of the attention other athletes do in other sports like football, basketball, and soccer. Women in sports are given less attention as well. Few marathon swimmers end up receiving media attention, with the exception of a few, because maybe it takes a dramatic level of attention span to watch a swimmer log miles after miles and hours after hours in the open sea. The fact that I received any attention for my crossing was a big deal for the open water swimming community. Many men and women complete crossings and do not get a chance to be on the news, but marathon swimming is not an Olympic event yet, let alone in other strokes other than freestyle. So my point is that the success that I experienced from that does not guarantee my happiness. And I think success in general does not guarantee happiness, nor does it define you the same as failure. So some people think that I should have been happy to have won awards and have accomplished so much athletically, but that's simply not true. I am glad to have been able to bring awareness to the fact that homelessness does not define a person, and to prove that someone can bounce back from failure and work hard to bounce back from it. But the truth is, I feel pain every day. I face it, feel it, and move on. And I'm not afraid to talk about it and be open about it. Swimming over 200 miles butterfly in the training leading up to the Catalina Channel helped me get through some pain, but it still exists and it's still there. The great thing is that pain can be transformed into something good if you want it to be that way. Living on the streets meant seeing people in pain all the time. Everybody got through it differently, and some people did bad things like committing crimes and taking advantage of each other. But when I was out there, I got through it by just applying for jobs and taking care of my family at the time and trying to keep a positive attitude, because that was my coping mechanism for survival. So I think that open water swimming in general saved me from a lot. And this piece that I'm reading now is just trying to express that. And it is cut like into different paragraphs and it's not very fluid, but I'm trying to keep going right now. So the point is that I was not about to let myself feel hurt over my socioeconomic status or place in society when I was homeless. Those things did not define me, and I knew that they would change if I put hard work in. Society should not define everyone based on the money that they have or how they look, but that's just my opinion. I might just be a bit out there when it comes to looking at things this way. I just don't value material items or base my identity off of material things in the way that other people do. A job is a job, no matter what you're doing. Honest work is honest work. I push myself and have always done that, but I know that other people have had a hard time coaching themselves and pushing themselves to be better without someone else's guidance. It's in this way that I am privileged. I learned how to coach myself and push myself through competitive sports. And I also try not to blame other people for my problems. Sure, some people can do shitty things and do terrible things, but the way in which you react and deal with those things is what defines your character. It's through experience and overcoming obstacles that we can gain wisdom. It's through grit and resilience that we can see how much strength we have. We as humans often undermine our own abilities and strengths and set limitations for ourselves based on what we think we can achieve. I think that a lot of people undermine what they can accomplish before they even try to accomplish the things they want to do. There's so many dreams and goals that people give up on due to the lack of courage and faith in their abilities to achieve them. I think that it's never too late. So limitation itself is something strange. If so many people have surpassed limitations and have accomplished things that they did not think were possible, what does that say about the weight we put on limitations? If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't, is a quote that I remember reading throughout my young life. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. There are a lot of barriers that exist that prevent people from achieving their dreams, especially not having money. If you're working a job that allows you to follow your dreams and passions, then you're definitely lucky. All I know is that there is a lot of unhappiness, and there are a lot of people around me that are trying to fill a void. Like, what is the one thing you dreamed about as a child? If you're not pursuing it, then why not? Is fear stopping you? Are you getting distracted? Are you putting other people before yourself? Do you have to? All those reasons and questions are legitimate, but if you really think about it, what is stopping you from getting what you want? Is it you? There's so many answers and questions, but the bottom line is, what's stopping you? The more I made the crossing less about myself, and the more I wanted to do it. The more I focused on the oppression and suffering I saw in the homeless community, the more I wanted to do something about it. You see, every homeless person has a talent. Every rich person has a talent. Every middle class person has a talent, and basically everyone has a gift. The key is investing in it and making it grow. It doesn't matter how much money you have, because that is not a defining factor in what you can do with your talents. I fell on my butt and hit rock bottom and got back up with positive thinking as a tool for survival. I also believe that everything happens for a reason, and there's always a lesson to be learned. Without going through homelessness and abusive relationships in my life, I would not be as strong and smart as I am today. I learned from hard times and from success. If someone says you cannot do something because of whatever reason, don't believe them. It's their insecurity, not yours. There is a lot to say about success coming from the people you least expect. So go do the things people would least expect you to do. Also remember that it's your life, not anyone else's. And you have the power to not care what other people say, because it really isn't any of your business anyway. Their opinions are theirs. So stop giving other people power over you if you see yourself doing that. Okay, so that was just a few paragraphs from the book I'm trying to write, and there's a lot of there are a lot of pages before that, so it might not make sense, but that's kind of like a conclusion paragraph for that chapter. So thanks for listening, and I'm sorry if it was choppy, but I'm still working on it, so thanks. Okay.
Thank you, Melissa. It's thanks for sharing that deeply personal work. I actually saw that as it worked. I mean, I saw it as a motivational speech, almost like something that you would hear at a graduation ceremony, and I was really drawn into it, especially how you framed it towards the end. And good luck on the book. I know it's a very emotional journey. We've all had our hardships, but being able to pick yourself up after that, and being able to swim and cross, and I can't swim, more than a distance of an Olympic-sized pool. So kudos to you. You are empowered through writing, it seems, and I give you all that. I do have a question for you too. I wanted to ask about your writing process, and because it seems like you're doing nonfiction. How do you work through your own feelings and emotions before you can, accurately form it into a paragraph and write it on the page?
I usually just write everything down, and when sometimes it gets too overwhelming, so then I stop and I put it down for a few hours or a few days, and then I go back and revisit it with a different perspective. I think working through all of it's difficult, and that's why it's taken over a year to formulate something. So I've changed my writing from trying to be like a motivational standpoint to more of like a stream of consciousness sort of thing. And yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but I'm trying to do that. And the way I work through emotions, though, it's like really hard because you have to remember stuff you don't want to, but the writing helps with that process, I think. And remembering that like you're going to have an audience who's going to read it who will benefit from it, hopefully. So you want to like give people that. So did I answer your question though?
You did, yeah, you did answer.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you. And that reminds me about our question and answer. We have a Q&A at the end. So for those of you watching on YouTube, feel free to ask a question there. I know we do have a couple of questions already, and you can go ahead and ask on Twitter or ask on any of our social media pages that we will monitor, and we will air them here and answer your questions of either Matthew or I or the actual readers and speakers tonight. So our last speaker from the book, our last contributor tonight is Kamani Rose. Kamani, first of all, nice to see you. I saw you on the last show, but I wasn't there personally, so it's good to speak to you tonight. Kamani has spent her time working on narratives and poetic works where she could see herself and her experiences represented. She is also working on building her art collective created for and by women of color, the Kamani Rose Creations. She describes her poetry as partly something for people to see themselves in, so they can affirm the feeling that they aren't alone in their emotions and experiences, and partly a vehicle for the transformative growth that we seek. Kamani.
Hi. I'm super happy to be here again. I know my first date was last week, but this is my second one, and I'm really excited to be here again with everyone. I'm gonna read 3 poems for y'all today. The first one is in our book, Writing for Life, which you should totally get because there's a lot of really great stuff in here. And if you want to actually see how this poem looks, because it sounds interesting, you should, get it. Okay. Black girl born skin side down, browned, full head of ancestor hair black as the bottom of the ocean those tar babies came from. Black girl trilingual, porque nana necesita ayuda con tus primas y steam the tamales y hervir el arroz con frijoles. And we've got to fry some catfish too. We've got 2 hands for picking and cleaning greens. Black girl knows the white fence casserole her house is made of. The Sloppy Joe school district stole the menudo y peach cobbler from black girl mouth. Black girl tongue tastes like hot sauce and drips venom. Black girl born that way. Born skin side down and sizzling. The saute pan moved from stovetop to oven to plate to belly to ocean to belly to belly to belly. Black girl devoured. Black girl silky smooth blowout steps in the rain humbled. Black girl curls come out to play no matter the battle to subdue them. They know better than to let heat win. Water always comes to cool and black girl curls spin to greet her. So that's the first one. The second one I'm reading is written in a similar way, which is why I wanted to read it. Sorry, it's a little windy. But yeah, it's written in a similar way, and I wrote it in a similar time, especially with all of the like protests and things. It's really just how I've been processing police brutality is like through these like types of poems. So the second one, Black girl tired. Black girl exhausted from screaming and bleeding, and Black girl no longer wants to be preoccupied with death, face to face with death. Sleeping with death on the other side of the door, the bed, the wall, the street, the city, the state, the state, the state. Black girls crumbled into pieces before, risen time and again from ashes. Black girl never known safety. Even Black girl father's arms bruised. Black girl resurfaces under sparkling water 4 days later, still breathing, still breathing, still. And then my third one is probably one of my favorite poems from my thesis that I just completed from Mills, because I go Mills, in like May. So it's one of my favorite poems that talks about, my thesis talks about the divine and how the world of the divine mirrors our world. So this poem is called Thou Shalt Love Thy Bodies. You feel that heartbeat, that boom, drum, that footstep padding your way is you. Another you body breathing, singing. Teach her how to dance. Teach her to love each rip and tear. Teach her that her body belongs to her, even when coveted, even when stolen, even when tied and lit ablaze, even when the dust will settle and call her a woman, the man will vibrate and call her a love, make mothering out of her just to dangle in front of their children, bait them, allow taste of what he gorges, of whom. Thank you. That's it for me today, guys.
Awesome. Something that Kimani's work reminds me of is the difference in seeing a work and hearing a work. The way that it looks on the page and a writer's and an artist's approach to the physical object, be it a canvas, a paper, a computer screen, or anything else, it can change the emotion of it. It can change the meaning, the impact, and the power. And so what we can do to help us visualize these words is pick yourself a copy of Writing for Life at www.nervousghostpress.com. And tonight's event, we have a very special guest, super special guest, probably the most special of guests. And to introduce this individual, I have to do it because I am, maybe if there were a special guest that was more special than this guest, it would be me. But I met this person a few years ago in class, which is very great. You know, class is a cool place to meet people. You're kind of unsure. You're sitting in this chair and they're over there at that table, and you're sizing them up a little bit. You know, where are you from? What do you know? Who are you? As far as writing is concerned, am I better? Are you better? We always compete with each other. As much as we compete with our minds and our emotions, we're competing with everybody else. And that competition is what got us to hang out, got us to work together on projects and go on field trips that were maybe field trips, but unofficially they were just hangouts. That competition gives us strength when we compete with our fears as artists, as writers, as singers, as whatever. We compete with our pain and our trauma. And what everybody has spoken about today, I feel, is a competition within ourselves and our hearts to move forward. What stops us, it's a competition of how not to be stopped and to be motivated and to say, no, I'm not going to let you win today. I'm going to win. And so I don't have a proper introduction because I want him to speak for himself, but to share a little bit about him, his work, his style, what he does. Everybody, please welcome our special guest today, the editor, the managing editor at Nervous Ghost Press, Michael Nicholson.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That was special. I'm glad I can be the special guest and that I'm second only to you. That I know not everybody talks about their past and their experiences at school, but for me, going to graduate school and going through my MFA program and meeting all the cohort and people like Matthew and Chad, it was a very formative experience, perhaps the most influential experience of my young career. And look where I am now. We have a book together. We are doing some stuff together. We are helping share voices for other people, some people who are unpublished, and I think that means a lot. It's very special to me. A little bit about my writing, since not everybody knows. I am primarily invested in screenwriting, and I've written a few spec scripts. And what a spec script is, it's a speculative script that you write. It basically looks like a screenplay. It's just not considered a screenplay yet because it hasn't been picked up by a studio. It's not written for the screen. It's just speculative. I have spent the past 3 years pretty much doing that. My background is in prose writing. It's in fiction and short stories. But there's something about the visual storytelling aspect and the freedom of doing a script, being able to form scenes that would be that are visual, that can be linear, non-linear, and seeing that scene play out in your head and wanting to put it on the screen, because I have aspirations of becoming an independent filmmaker. The story that I am going to share, though, isn't a script. It is a story that I wrote a few years ago called Unearthing, and it is just the first page. I think I'll share, maybe page and a half. Try to find a good ending point. But it is about a couple who dig up a corpse because they want to know what death looks like and they want to experience that. And the only way they think is possible. This is called Unearthing. It was in a moment of post-coital deliberation when Stella decided that she would unearth the corpse. She felt it was only decent, sensing that the soul that had entranced her was expressing its ardent need for permutation. No, worse than that. It was a cry for escape. She wondered how she should tell Mortimer. If only he could read her thoughts, agree with a nod so they didn't have to speak of it. She chose to deny death once before, and her negligence almost cost her her life. Embrace it, he'd said. Shape it, he'd said. Death inspires life. Her connection to the dead world grew potent, she admitted, to no one but herself. Once more, the two of them lay naked against a mossy gravestone. This, the 17th time in 17 days, and the farther back Stella leans, she swears she can feel the stone lean with her, cushion her, give in to the warmth of her body and her blood. Sinking more and more into the hillside with each warm kiss, her whole being eases until she is absolute. Light and sound purge from her body in several passing radiations. Flushing, trembling, she grabs at the base of the gravestone, tears a spear of grass from its roots. The earth between her fingers. After the earth, the skin, the hair and the spine, his breath on her neck, and the inevitable collapse of his body. The world pauses. They radiate into each other. Ne parge ne rien. The only marks visible on the sad, faded visage above their heads. No dates, no symbols, no name for remembrance. Spare nothing. A half-assed epitaph for a half-remaining bundle of bones that has, until recently, been left undisturbed for 2 generations, from Ghent until the Great One. How very lonely, Stella thinks, to not be named. Perhaps their best decision. She studied the moss, the cracks, and the coarse letters. How many years with a name only to remain nameless? She brushes a long strand of Mortimer's hair from his face, then another, while his vein tracing up her wrists ensues. She chose a good one. Somewhere in the near depths, in pockets and tunnels only a finger can fit through, one hungry beetle charges toward the ultraviolet, passing hundreds of other beetles much plumper than its own, scaling thoraces, bumping heads. As air streams into the narrow depth, the single beetle wants only to meet that air, emerge into the ultraviolet and indulge its voracious appetite, hoping for the source, certain of its taste and its scent. Not the brush it was born into, the roots and the blades and the soil around it, but a carcass, the strongest scent of all. Impulse pushes harder. If it loses, it may very well be crushed. Invisible to both of them, it persists. It comes as a tingle on her neck, which she brushes off blindly. A cold rush soon follows, waking her from Mortimer's hypnotic post-coital ritual, first along her bareness, then through her bones. This is not absolute, she thinks to herself. They are here and they are not absolute. She instinctively pulls her arms towards her chest, to which Mortimer calmly greets, locking hands and kissing the length of her neck, because it's what she told him to do. Warmer, calm her. The tingling subsides, and she remembers what she'd thought previously, before they first locked lips, and the view of River Saint Michel and its distant scattering of boats turned bright, blurry vision. Now, returned to the gravestone, her mind fulfills. God, what a wonderful place to die. Thank you.
Awesome. And I think it's one of the reasons why I wanted to work with Michael and Chad specifically were, number one, we were friends. And number two, I'm a fan of their writing. I'm a fan of their work and their styles and their philosophies as far as writers go. And it's something that I thought would be very, very beneficial to Nervous Ghost Press to have them with us. I thought it would be beneficial to myself. I can be selfish. And in this way, I was very selfish. And they're mine. I took them. Nobody else can have them, and they're not going anywhere. I hope. Fingers crossed. I want to. I'm always writing notes here, and something that I've been thinking about, at least through today's event especially, and all the other ones, and while I think about the future events, is not only why we write, but what's the purpose of it. We can write for reasons that are different than the purpose, and I think today my answer is writing as exploration. Writing as what we explore our feelings, we explore perspectives that are not our own, and we could explore what we want to see, what we want to feel, and who we want to be. And I think that's powerful. I think there's so much power in what is spoken and what is unspoken. And to read what is unspoken, you already know where, right here. You know where to get it. Nervous Ghost, there it is. And if you want to hear it spoken, show up. We have an event July 26th, and then our August series starts on August 5th. And for more information, of course, www.nervousghostpress.com. To kick off our Q&A, I've been thinking about a question, and it's something that I kind of wrestle with every once in a while, and Melissa spoke about it. Everybody spoke about it, and that's time travel. Because when we do write, we go back in time sometimes. We go back into a moment we don't want to relive. But in order to get rid of it from our brains, we need to write it down. We need to get it out. We need to put a baseball size, ball of paint in our hand and throw it on a canvas, or throw it at a wall, or throw it in the trash can, or throw it somewhere. And so my question for whoever wants to speak, and I'll open us up to all of our faces now, is how do you manage and how do you cope with the time travel aspect of writing? And Michael too, you can jump in. Oh wait, you're all muted. That was on me. There we go. Nobody.
I kind of think about it like time isn't really real anyway. So it's like me going back in time to write about a moment is still me writing about now, quote unquote, like what the now is. Like, yeah, so that's usually how I process it. It's like time isn't real. If I'm writing about something, I'm there, and that's then. And then it's now, and then when I'm done writing about it, I'm back in whatever present in that moment is now.
Totally.
Yeah, I think, without getting too theoretical, because I have read a lot of science fiction, and you know that Philip K. Dick is one of my favorite authors. But I see time as a spectrum, and it's always changing. You're going from one place to another, just like you were talking about. And if you're writing from something in the past, you have the ability and the imaginative ability to go into that moment, however you remember it, and then try to pull something out of there for your own work. Whether or not it's been framed or shaped by your own memories and recent memories or opinions, it's important to go back to that. And for me, who often I think I write for the future, because if I'm writing a spec script and I'm writing a scene, that's something that hasn't actually played out yet. That's just something that was in my mind that I'm putting down into the page. And so I see that almost as writing for the future. And by writing for the future, I'm pulling my own experiences, I'm pulling influences, scenes and characters that have been playing in my mind for months to years, and I am creating that.
Awesome. There's a few times I know that I thought I solved the time paradox or whatever it is, was because in my brain, everything, you know, and they say everything that happened has happened and will happen and hasn't happened yet and it's gonna happen anyway. But when I write about something that happened yesterday or 10 years ago or 15 years ago, or when I remember what happened 7 years ago and 20 years ago, it's like it's still right now. And it always comes back. And then I can reread something from 10 years ago and get back into the place where I wrote it. And I can remember writing in my journal back when I was in school, and I can remember writing at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's equally cool, and it also sucks. And I think that's something that's great about writing, especially for the purpose of our press and for this project, is that it's equally cool and it equally sucks. You know, the process was amazing. I learned a lot. We all learned, and we're learning together, and that is fantastic. But it was stressful and it was frustrating. And I was worried that when I mailed out these books to the authors, they weren't going to get them. And seeing them read from them today, that makes me feel great. You know, and then tomorrow I'm going to feel stressed out again. And I think that's something that's really cool. And, you know, having Michael shares inspired me to share, not today, obviously. So too bad, everybody. But maybe one of these days, I think myself and Chad will hop on and we can share our work. And I'd like to join in. And I think it would be really nice to have that sense of community within our own community as the press, you know, just show that we are together and we're a family. And I'm happy that Melissa was here. And I have another question for everybody before I bring up my little artworks and to speak about what's coming up in the coming weeks and months. And that is, it's a broad question, and you can go anywhere you like, but what motivates you? Because I know that fear sometimes motivates me, or maybe anger or things like that. And it motivates me to win. You know, sometimes I say there's no winners or losers, but if there were a winner or a loser, I'm going to be the winner. Right? You know, I'm going to stand on top with the trophy. It's my trophy. I'm going to drink out of it, or however it is. And so, you know, what motivates all of you to not only be here, but to continue to push your work out and to submit it, not knowing if it'll come back with a yes or a no, and put yourself in that vulnerable state of flux and uncertainty, especially now with the world being so uncertain. How do you still do it? I think it's something that can be powerful. I think it's powerful seeing you here, and I'm excited. And so I think I'd like to know, you know, what motivates you.
Well, maybe this is answering this question, but I think it's also partly answering your last question, Matthew. You know, in the time travel question, a lot of it, you were focusing a lot on the time part of it. I like to give an ups for the travel part of it. As writers, we travel back in memory and think forward. I mean, there's a time travel in that, but there's a travel. We write as readers and writers, we travel in different ways. I think writing's a very moral kind of act. We imagine ourselves as different characters and in the heads and emotions of different people and things, and the vulnerability and the passion and the fierceness of the writing tonight is a testament to that. But I think that empathy, that sympathy, that traveling out of ourselves into something else, somebody else, is inherently moral. And in this time that we live in right now, that is a really important reason to write, to have a sense of what others are feeling and going through. And it helps us be kinder, and helps us listen more, and it helps our voices become more powerful and enriched.
Definitely.
I think for me, what motivates me is I still carry these versions of myself from when I was younger. You know, I carry around 9-year-old, 13, 16, 18-year-old versions of me who, you know, were going through something that was not acknowledged by others around her. Others around her kind of failed her, if we're being honest. failed to acknowledge what she was going through, failed to advise her. And I feel like now I'm an adult, I'm a woman, and I have a duty to those previous versions of myself to witness her and to maybe guide her through and let her know that yes, it still hurts. But you'll be okay. You turn out okay, honey. And if that can help somebody now, if that can help explain what I went through to people I know now, even though it's scary as hell because sometimes people can feel like I'm pointing a finger. If I can just have a moment to explain myself and be brave, that's what motivates me, is that I have a chance to be myself uninterrupted. It's where I can be brave. It's stuff that no one's heard, not even in my diary, but when it makes it to a poem on a page, it's the rawest form, and it's where I have a chance to have that moment. That's what motivates me.
Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in? All right, so.
Oh,
Nope.
okay. No, I was just gonna say the reason that what motivates me is I like to offer people something that will benefit them. So that's what motivates me, like to do something that would possibly maybe help somebody. And like in my style of nonfiction stuff that I'm currently working on. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, totally. And I think we can all relate to that. As writers, we give a lot just in the fact that we're sharing something so deep and so personal that many people don't know. And the fact that we can give it a voice, which is oftentimes a little bit softer and quieter than it sounds in our brains, adds to the strength and the courage, like Amanda said. And before I conclude, I want to show us again this poster here, and it's true that we stand with our communities and we stand with being love and strong and courageous and passionate about everything that we do, and we'll continue to do it, and we'll bring in people who feel the same way and who write for the same reasons, and we want us all together. And to show that you're part of the community as well, we have this information once again: Gatsby Books in Long Beach, California. Go there, visit the website, call them up, see how they're doing, check in. We need to take care of our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, our cousins, everybody else, our family, immediate and extended. And to always stay up to date on news and where we are and where we're going, follow us on all of our social media. Get yourself a copy, read the words, be part of the movement, be part of the literary movement, the political movement, our social movement, and our personal movements, everything and always. And of course, you can find these videos on our YouTube channel at Nervous Ghost Live. They will be there. They will be uploaded. We have other content there. We'll upload videos of our readers, maybe of ourselves, and other things that are word related, poetry related, community related. And so just to leave everybody on hopefully positive notes, I hope you are all healthy. I hope you're all happy. And I hope you're all warm. And so until next time, we will see you there, July 26th. Stay tuned.